So good afternoon, everyone. And to everyone at the Fort McMurray Chamber of Commerce, thank you for the invitation to be here at my first State of the Region as mayor. It's great to see so many friends and family here and some people I don't know. If anybody doesn't know me, take the time to come to introduce yourself. I'm always open to meeting everyone in the community. And a sold out event. Wow. The last time I sold out an event, we had about 2,500 people. 2,000 of those people wanted to see me walk out on my own 2 feet. 500 wanted to see me carried out. But regardless, it was sold out. That was at the Casman Center 11 years ago. So I'm happy to have a different crowd. A crowd, as long as Phil Marr's not here, can probably outrun. So I'm very happy to be here today. I'm very humbled by being the mayor over the last year and what we've accomplished. I'd like to acknowledge as well our our MLA, Tan Yao, who's also the parliamentary secretary for rural Alberta, which is a huge role, and his work doesn't go unnoticed by me as we communicate quite a bit on what he's been doing for us and as our community. I'd like to also acknowledge our councillors, Funky Benjoko, Councillor Alan Grandison, Councillor Jane Stroud, and Councillor Lance Boussier. Well, you said I pronounced your name wrong last week, so. There you go. And I won't take too much of your time today because, to me, State of the Region is something we continue to experience together, especially given the challenge we've faced in recent years. And you know all too well the journey we've been on in this community. That said, 2023 is just around the corner. I think this is a good opportunity for all of us to take a minute to reflect, think about where we've been, where we are, and where we'd like to go. For me, when I think about it, I keep going back to one thing. We are Canada's strongest community. And after 1 year as mayor, I remain humbled and honored and even more committed to working alongside all of you, council, and everyone in the region to ensure we continue to build Canada's strongest community. I believe with that said, and what I said a month ago at the recent Momentum 22 event holds true today, will hold true next year, and will hold true for the next decade. We have the same challenges as all the other communities across Canada, but we have way more advantages. And I'll get back to that. November 19th was the last time we had State of the Region address. And we're in a different place than we were back then. And so my speech may be a little longer than that one, as being as 3 years since we've done a State of the Region. At that time, we were a little more than 3 years removed from the 2016 wildfire. We're all dealing with continued economic uncertainty and a lower for longer oil prices that no one could have expected. And being in the community for the last 30 years is one thing that I've always thought of with this community. It's not how hard you get hit, it's how hard you get hit and how fast you get back up that makes a difference. And yes, we have a lot of healing to do, and we need to be there for those that need that help. And that's one thing that our groups in this community have always stood out as well, always trying to help the most vulnerable in our community. But I believe when the time comes to look back on 2022, we remember this as the year we got back up, and we got back up for good. Now, how do you build Canada's strongest community? For this, I think it's important we take a page from our elders and seniors that have paved the way for all of us. And one of them once told me, just recently, the answers we need are all around us. We just need to stop and listen to them. This is something I'm working on getting a lot better at, especially as I'm currently taking Cree lessons from Elder Rita Martin. If I learned to stop and listen more, it would probably make her job a lot easier. And as much as I'm having fun learning Cree and learning more Indigenous culture from that, when they said there was a decade of languages, I don't think Elder Martin really realized that she was going to have me as a student for the next decade. But she's stuck with me now. Another sound piece of advice I've received is to get where you're going, you have to know what guides you. So working alongside my council and many community partners, I think something that guides us is responsibility. That means fiscal responsibility, also being fair, accountable, and leading with an open mind. And with the 2023 municipal budget just on the horizon, this means a commitment to balanced budgets, no municipal debt, some of the lowest property taxes in Alberta and all of Canada, a focus on core services, community resilience, sustainability, and to our people. And also making sure we make the right investments at the right time and for the right reasons. Also guiding us is the need to be confident as a council, as a municipality, and as a community. That starts with us being champions of what and who we are and being okay with what we're not. We are a hardworking, strong, diverse, generous region, and we are family and community orientated. We are committed to sustainability and truth and reconciliation with Indigenous peoples and communities. And we're also a place that has been and will always be open to anyone that wants to seize the opportunity, work hard, be appreciated for who they are, and make a better life for themselves and their families. We are growing again. According to the 2021 census, less people are flying in and flying out, and more people are choosing to make this their home. This is good news, and it's a great step in the right direction for us. Heading into 2023, we should also be confident about the role that oil sands and our energy industry will play in the years ahead. Not only was 2022 a strong year for industry and workers, but also through Pathways Alliance, many are seeing in the oil sands what we have known for years, that we are and will continue to be leaders in environmental stewardship and sustainable practice while helping Alberta and Canada deliver energy security and the economy and the jobs of the future for the entire country. Being guided by responsibility and confidence, we can't forget about important engagements, collaborations, and partnerships. We will continue to better these partnerships with rural and Indigenous communities in our region, founded on reconciliation, relationships, dialogue, and respect. We also continue to support Indigenous and rural communities by taking action, whether it's through completion of the Rural Water and Sewer Project, which is the largest capital project ever taken on by this municipality. Further infrastructure and community building initiatives across the region included in the 2023 budget, new protocol agreements with Indigenous communities, and by advancing municipality's response to truth and reconciliation calls to action. We also continue to collaborate with local business community here today while working to create an environment where local business can grow and succeed. As I mentioned, having amongst the lowest property tax rates anywhere is a solid foundation. But it's also about listening and working directly with business people and the business community, including the Chamber of Commerce, NABA, Fort McMurray Construction Association, and others, to move the local economy forward. That's why I'd like to thank the Wood Buffalo Development Advisory Committee, chaired by Bruce Kumka, for its important work in collaboration with the business community and the team at the municipality, for the recent Planning and Development Process Review report, which was presented to Council here in late September. The report made 92 recommendations, highlighting 300 actions that we will be taking, and which some have already been happening to make it easier to do business in the municipality. This is a priority, and I'm a firm believer in the best ideas come from the community itself. This is also why Council created Wood Buffalo Pro Advisory Committee. And I look forward to the new ideas and recommendations that will come from this forum so we can take further steps to support local business community. And I can't speak to the state of the region without expressing my appreciation for our incredible social profit sector. According to the United Way, we are Canada's most giving region per capita. And while there's no surprise to those of us that are in the room, we even have several councillors that are actually in the jail and bail program right now that are looking for your donations. They can't join us because they're locked up. So Councillor Stu Weigel would love to have some help down there right now. He wouldn't forgive me if I didn't mention that today. So when I realized even more over the last year, what puts this generosity into action is the dedicated people working every day in the social profit organizations in our community. Those are the people that make this happen. In the 2022 budget, Council invested $43 million in the Community Investment Program, funding which goes to local social profit organizations, municipal partners, facility operators, and community event organizers. The true measure of any community is how it takes care of its seniors, elders, children, and among the most vulnerable in our community that need our help the most. I believe these crucial partnerships must remain front and center in our minds, and we won't get to where we need to go unless we all work together to lift people up and create a region where everyone can reach their full potential. Finally, when it comes to engagement, collaboration, partnerships, I have to mention our continued work with the Government of Alberta alongside MLAs Brian Jean and Tanny Yao. I'll be brief on this topic because I know that there's a number of community priorities and we could probably take the next 3 days discussing it. So we'll leave that where it is. But I will say that as we continue to advocate for EMS dispatch to return to the municipality, because we know the community and our residents are better served by our own regional emergency services, MLA Tanny Yao is one of my biggest advocates. And in the last year, I've formed such a relationship with Minister Jason Copping that it's almost like a marriage. He knows what I'm thinking, he knows what he's thinking. He knows what I'm thinking, I know what he's thinking, which leads me to know when he's going to cancel a meeting with me or not. And we're looking for some good news this week, and we'll keep working together with our MLAs to make that happen. We're also championing the idea of a secondary provincial highway in and out of Fort McMurray. It'd be a great social and economic benefit with increased public safety and enhancing community resilience. And speaking of community resilience, this leads me to the final value that has to guide us, and that's community. In this community, we are truly a region. We must always remember this. From Fort Fitzgerald and Fort Chipewyan, from Fort McMurray all the way to Conklin, and all points in between, we're larger than the province of Nova Scotia. Home to several First Nations and Métis communities, with the engine of Canada's energy industry right in our backyard. Along these lines, Budget 2023 is one that very much centered on community. And while I keep an open mind, because the budget will be presented and discussed at Council in the beginning of November, on November 29th, what I will say is that the proposed budget helps us build a strong, sustainable community. My hope is that it will help position us today for the next 5, 10, and maybe 25 years to come, including major initiatives like flood mitigation and many others, such as downtown revitalization incentives as well. As we set ahead a chart in this course the next few years and years ahead, I remind of one of the main reasons I got into public service, and that was to do what I could to build a community that is promising for my children and the young people as it was for me. And as you might remember in the beginning, I mentioned that we all have the same challenges as other places, but we have way more advantages. And yes, we continue to recover from successive challenges like any other communities across Alberta and Canada. We're managing through sharp cost of living increases, cost of business increases, record inflation, labor shortages, and all those misguided and ill-informed perceptions that people continue to have about us in this region. But for me, the state of Canada's strongest region is about our advantages. We have the best, strongest, hardest working, generous people, the country's highest disposable income and lowest taxes, incredible recreation centers, schools, and facilities, tremendous Indigenous culture, heritage, and communities where reconciliation is advanced every day. A truly Canadian place, diverse with people from all walks of life, from all across Canada, Alberta, and all over the world. Home to strong local business, community dedicated to social profit organizations, and a team with council and municipality that have come to learn or filled with amazing people working every day to put their neighbors first. And if that's not enough for Canada's strongest community, I believe the best is yet to come. So thank you, everyone.